Welcome,
You want to
everybody.
watch it?
We're going to wait a minute or so before we start. We've got people waiting for us at the barrier removal site. So we're going to just wait for last comers, and then we can start this live event. Great. So I think that we can get started. I want to welcome all of you. Fantastic that you're all joining us for this live removal in Scotland. We are hosting this with World Fish Migration Foundation, WWF Netherlands. We have the Scottish Environmental Protection Agency, and Fife Coast and Countryside Trust is making this all possible. We are on site at a 1.4 meter weir. And today we're going to hear about all about how this barrier removal got started, what the processes were for this barrier removal, and then also have a look and see. We see that the video is a little bit pixelated, showing you the site. So fingers crossed, you will be able to see nicely how the site is looking. But we can also see behind Linda. There's also the weir and the river there. So hopefully between the two cameras we will get started. So I would like to, without further ado, I would like to introduce Linda Gairns. I hope that I'm pronouncing your
No,
surname
that's right.
correctly. From the Scottish Environmental Protection Agency. You are working with the Water Environmental Fund, so we would like to hear with regards to that role, what you're doing in terms of barrier removal, and how this fits within this project in Scotland.
Yeah, morning. I'm just going to start with a little bit of scene setting, just before that question, if that's okay. Yeah, so just basically good morning from Scotland, first of all. We're right by the River Leven behind us, and it flows from Loch Leven, which is 26-kilometre length of river, right down to the 34th at the town of Leven. We are at the downstream section just now, so we're at the downstream 4.5-kilometre reach, and that's really where the River Leven Restoration Project is focusing its efforts. So we are looking at benefits for morphology alongside easement of two historic redundant fish barriers. So we've got Burnmill Dam behind us just now, which is partway through removal, and about a kilometre further up, we've got another dam, Impassable Dam, Kirkland, and we're putting a rock ramp in that one. Just a bit of context, really, for this area, the River Leven was once one of the most industrialised rivers in Scotland, and the river powered linen and flax mills, and they moved on to steel and coal industry. And with that, with the end of those industries now, what we're left with is these redundant historic barriers in the river. Further upstream, there still is active industry associated with barriers, but down here, that industry is no longer here. So these barriers are having an absolute impossibility to fish further up the catchment. So that's really our focus, to get fish into these rivers and upstream habitat. And then just lastly, to a bit more context, within this project, within this 4.5 kilometres downstream area, we are part of a wider Leven programme. And this is so SEPA and FCC, Fife Coast Countryside Trust, are partners with alongside a wide range of partners looking at benefits for the environment, for biodiversity, but really importantly for the economy, for the local community. So this area over the years will see improvements not only to the river and for habitat and for fish, but also there'll be a network of active travel routes, riverside garden, heritage trails, and interpretation. So it's really exciting time for us here at this river. So yes, question one, I'll move on to that. So it's really, your question was who I work for and why we work on barrier projects. So yeah, I work within the Water Environment Fund team in SEPA, and the Water Environment team is funded by Scottish Government, so we administer and manage this annual fund with the aim of improving ecology on downgraded rivers and working on historic redundant barriers to ease fish passage. We have a programme, we work throughout Scotland, and we have a programme that we work to, and we've got a team of police officers working throughout Scotland on a whole range of projects with lots of different partners. The main reasons, the two main reasons really we work on fish barrier removal projects. The first one is really the River Basin Plan for Scotland. So that plan, it gathers a lot of evidence about what's impacting our rivers in Scotland, and it's showing that fish barrier and ecology is actually a big pressure on our rivers. So by targeting those, we'll get our greatest ecological benefits, all about ecology and benefits. So that's really one reason that we work on barrier removal. So under the River Basin Plan, we have a priority list, and that's what feeds our programme of projects throughout Scotland. The other reason really we work on fish barrier removal projects is through Scottish Government's Scottish wild salmon strategy. So SEPA are part of a wide range of partners who are looking to improve and protect rivers for Atlantic salmon. It's a red list species, endangered. So we're really looking at, there's not much we can do out at sea, but certainly in rivers we can open up habitat and get fish access to more habitat. And that's what we do.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lida. And
Okay.
the question that came to mind quickly, how many barrier removal projects are you working on in Scotland or are proposed? Can you give me a rough figure?
I can. I mean, I've got some high-level figures that I can come to at the end. I mean, at the moment, we work throughout Scotland. It's hard to say. I would say at the moment, between 10 and 20, probably projects ongoing at the moment in different attachments throughout Scotland. And the morphology projects, we very much work in partners. We build these partnership projects, so it's not just about the river, it's about building these multiple benefits in the surrounding green space for local communities. Yes. So yeah, they're kind of years in the planning because we want to, it's really about placemaking and benefits for not just ecology, but for people.
Fantastic. I love it. So that's great. So thank you. Perhaps maybe we can we see there's another lady standing next to you, Alison. I've mixed it around a little bit. I would like to just also introduce you, tell people who you are. You are the team lead at the restoration as a river restoration specialist at CBEC Eco Engineering, and you're working on this project, and will be great. We will hear a lot more about the specific work that you have been doing relating to the feasibility studies, and so. And I think a little bit later we'll come to you with regards to all the details from that. So we have Alison, and then we also then have Ines Croft, and he's from McEwen Environmental Specialists. He is this is a construction project specialist company which help protect and enhance natural environments, and who are delivering the river restoration works in the River Leven. And so we thought that it would be really great if he can show us around the project site and tell us a little bit more about what is happening there. Give us some insights into the restoration works and the restoration projects. Are you there, Ines?
Hello.
Hi. Hi. There we go. We see
A
you.
bit delayed.
We
Yep.
see you a little bit pixelated. So show us. Show us what kind of works can we see?
So we started this. We actually put an access ramp in down the bank for a start, and then the weir was just out in front of us here. You can see that it was about 1.5 high, and we've dropped it about a meter there. So what we did,
Sorry, your screen has frozen. We seen you, and then now we can see the screen a little bit. Let's try and I'm going to try and see if I can make this bigger on my screen so I can see what you all are seeing. Oh, it's quite pixelated. Can you try and keep the camera steady?
yes, I will. Yes.
Yeah, we're struggling a little bit to see. Uh, we can see Linda and Alison, we can see perfectly behind you. But unfortunately, I think that the reception is a little bit bad. I wonder, would it be possible uh, from Linda and Alison that camera that you have, would you be able to, to pan it around and be able to show us? Are
Yeah,
you
yeah. So we could do that from here as in speak.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I think that we can see much better with that one. Yes, that's great. Um, so Ines, I don't know how far you are from where with the ladies are. Will you be able to show us from?
So hold that.
You just
I'll just start again. Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
So
fantastic. Thanks.
we started off with making a ramp down into the river, cutting into the bank, and then we got to the weir, and then we took the weir down. The weir was about 1.5 high in the centre there. We dropped the height gradually, probably 500 millimetre at a time, so the water can get away gradually and not put a flood down the river. Then we went to the centre there and we dug a channel through the middle, so the water dropped right down, so we could work in the dry. And then we had two excavators working in this area, and they were chucking the stone to the back area you see there, the rock armour. We've still got a bit of work to do in here. As you see at the bottom, it's still to come down about 400 mil. So the guys will get onto that probably tomorrow.
When did you start the works?
It would have been about a week ago we started removing the weir, and it took about three days to get to the stage we're at now.
Okay. Okay. And I see that there's this there's a pipeline. Can you talk to
Yes.
us a little bit about that pipeline?
So that's a waste pipeline that runs right up towards the actual weir. We're doing up further up as well. So that wasn't really a problem with the site. It's kind of our work in that kind of area.
Fantastic. And do you have any other anything else to add with regards to the site? Any lessons learned? Anything that you can share with the audience with regards to the works?
Not really. It went really well. To be fair, there was none that we're not used to doing. So not really.
Fantastic. So then I think then we can go over to I think that we had we spoke a little bit with Linda, perhaps maybe Alison. We just heard now that the pipeline was not a problem at all. And you worked on the feasibility studies. So perhaps maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on the work that you did on some of the hydrological studies, the fish studies, perhaps maybe also the infrastructure around. I see there's also housing in the background there. Perhaps you can talk to that.
Yeah, of course. So, so CBEC, when we first got involved in the feasibility study of the weir removal, what we were actually assessing was what was going to be the preferred method of improving fish passage on the weir. So we looked at full weir removal, but we also had to consider other options. So, for example, the installation of a technical fish pass, a rock ramp, as we're doing with the weir upstream from here, partial removal and full removal of the weir as well. So there were a number of assessments we had to do to try and work out what was going to be the most appropriate for the site. As geomorphologists and as river restoration specialists, obviously we want to see works that will improve the river and return it to as naturally functioning a river as possible, given the sort of site constraints that you have. And this is a really constrained site. So you've mentioned the infrastructure. So we had to do utilities searches, which were done very early in the project, just to work out what pipelines, are there underground cables or anything that might impact anything that we do to the weir, but also access down to the site. The housing that you see around us is actually outside of the natural floodplain of the river. So the housing itself wasn't a concern for us for this particular project. But because we're in such an urban area, we also had to look at contamination and what would happen to the site. And if we were to mobilise any of the sediment caught behind the weir, would that release contaminants into the river? So we had a contamination study done of the sediments behind and downstream of the weir, just to make sure that there were no contaminant issues or risks associated. We, CBEC ourselves as river restoration specialists, we conducted a fluvial audit. So what we mean by that is the sort of mapping of the processes and the features that you see within the river. So we extended that assessment upstream and downstream so that we could get a better understanding of how the river is working. And that helps us to determine what might happen if we were to remove the weir itself. We've done undertaken topographic surveys as well, so mapping the elevation of the bed of the river and the weir itself. So that helps us to produce really accurate design, well, as accurate as possible in the natural environment, designs that the contractors can then use to actually deliver the works. There was a wide range of things considered, really. I probably missed loads. Ecology was another thing. So we looked at in-stream habitat. We had a fish specialist come out and have a look at in-stream habitat, and also ecologists that have looked at invasive species on the riverbanks and things. And all of that information has been gathered together along with a structural assessment that we had undertaken on the weir as well, to determine for us what was going to be the best and most appropriate option for the site, and sort of one that balances the risks with the benefits at the site. And the feasibility study, the results of that was that we could remove this weir, and obviously for us that's a great achievement to be able to reach that point.
Fantastic. So talk a little bit about the sediment. So you did sediment, the pollution analysis, and I also see that you say that one of the reasons for the removal was also for the sediment flow. Can you add anything to the benefits of the sediment, or were there any issues with regards to the removal with that sediment?
Yeah, so it's something that we have to consider for every weir, any sort of weir removal project, or for us, any project where we are working within the river. Obviously, during construction, you have the risk of sediment mobilising during the works when the contractors are working in the river. The contamination studies showed that there wasn't any risk in terms of contaminants within the sediment around the weir site itself. So that was a really good thing for us. It makes it a lot less complex a job in that respect. In terms of the actual sediment itself, the contractors have in place sort of silt management plans and things. We've had to work quite closely with the fishery board, and also we have to obtain licenses from SEPA, car registration license, which we apply for ahead of the works, and that gives us the approvals that we require to then be able to do the in-river works during the period from around May to the end of September, when there are less fish and before the spawning period happens. So all of those sorts of considerations had to be made right through the course of the project, and those approvals were finally put in place before the work started this year.
Fantastic. So I have here a question directed for Inez. What steps did you take in order to finally remove the barrier? So how long did this process start and the permitting? Alison, do you want to talk to a little bit, because you already mentioned a little bit, or would you, or does Inez have something to add to that? What do you think?
No, I guess I can cover a bit of that. So in terms of the permitting, the car registration license took a period of about 4 months. So we had to ensure that we had left enough time to obtain that permit. And that was approved not long ago, actually. And McGowan were really quick to be able to mobilise onto site after that. And it was a case of, while the flow conditions are suitable on site, and the weather is, touch wood, on our side at the moment, it was a case of getting the work started as quickly as possible while we've got low flows, because the minute that you have flows that start to get higher in the river, you get additional risks associated with sediment release, and that's something that we really want to avoid. So yeah, it's a case of, while the conditions are right on site, getting as much done as possible, within the time you have.
Fantastic. And then in terms of other restoration, so you have this specific barrier, the actual removal. Was there any other restoration that you did? You mentioned exotics. Was there any other works that you needed to consider?
And basis, but yes. So for this particular site, one of the ways that CBEC sort of approaches every project is we call it designing with nature. So we consider the natural processes that are in the river, and we try and work with those so that our designs are more sustainable in the longer term. And what we had to consider at this site was, obviously, with removing the weir, you lower the water levels and you bring about a much more natural riverbed upstream. And what we really want to do is allow the river to recover itself. And over time, sediment will begin to move back through the system. You'll see sediment moving downstream through the site, whereas originally, the dam was an obstacle to natural sediment and flow movement. And so over time, upstream, you can already see the beginnings of ripple features upstream, where previously that section of the river was really impounded and just deep, very slow flowing water.
Yes.
And so over time, we expect that the river will establish those natural bed features, and it will start to look like a much more natural river channel, albeit within the constraints of the site. So.
And Atlantic salmon is really part also of the Scottish bigger picture. What is happening there with the Atlantic salmon specifically at the site? Have you seen any? What's happening?
I haven't personally seen any, but McGowans have had to, as part of their works, have fish rescues undertaken. So before any of the works in the channel has happened, we've had Forth Rivers Trust come out and do fish rescues, and I believe that they have caught a large number of fish and relocated those, just to make sure that we're not harming the fish in any way that are in the system. But ultimately, the barrier. This was the lowermost dam on the river, and this is really going to help the fish on that first part of their journey up through the catchment. So it's really fantastic to be able to sort of help them on the way at the very start of that journey.
Yeah, fantastic. And perhaps maybe is Inez around? Maybe he can talk a little bit about these fish rescues.
Yes. as we're working, the fishery kind of electrocute a small area in front of the bucket, so and then they can net the fish before we start the work. And they collected a fair few fish, maybe two or three buckets full of eels and small salmon.
Okay, fantastic. So, so there were some eels and salmon. And in terms of the monitoring, what are your plans for monitoring this in the long term?
So we'll monitor after the work's complete. We've got a period of kind of monitoring evaluation for a good year after the project and then year on actually. So for this whole project, this 4.5 tons to reach, we're looking at fish passage, also morphology. So we'll come back, fish ecology colleagues within SEPA and hydroecology colleagues within SEPA and the Fishery Trust will come back regularly and monitor and see these improvements over time.
Fantastic. And tell me, have you involved the communities at all? Perhaps maybe you can also talk a bit about that. Were they excited about this removal? Was there some contention? Tell us a little bit more about the communities.
Yes, so as part of the feasibility and concept design stage, we undertook some consultation events with the local communities just to gauge opinions about the proposals, try and get some feedback that we could then incorporate into the project. We tied that in with some of the consultation that was happening around the projects that are happening around the wider river as well. And generally, we found that the river restoration was really well received. The communities were really happy that there was work being done to improve the river. There were certain things that were raised in terms of litter and things like that on the riverbanks, and we're hoping that with the various project partners we can pick up, there might be plans to run community workshops or things like that to help with that side of things in the longer term. But generally, the community that we've spoken to have been really supportive. And obviously, you'll always get some people that have concerns about what we're doing. We've got the Leven programme more generally has a very active social media account. And we've been posting updates on the Facebook page, and where there are concerns or questions that come through, and we've been able to answer those and hopefully sort of alleviate any of those concerns as well. So yeah, it's been fantastic. I was down on the river a few weeks ago with one of the local school groups as well. It was really nice to see them enjoying the river area as well. And the hope is that once the schools are back after the summer, we'll be able to get some of the school groups to site to really talk them through what's happened and why.
Yeah, I'll just come in with another thing, because at this community events, one of the key messages that kind of came through was people are really proud of their industrial past and the heritage of the area. So that's how we fed into that wider Leven programme, so that when they're designing the interpretation trails, they're definitely they've been recording memories of the older generation, they're going to tell the story of the industrial past, they've logged so many photos of the before, during and after, so that history won't be lost, and that's going to be kind of blended into the wider project. So we tell, so that history's kept, keeps that story alive, and that really came from the community. They wanted to remember that, so that's all been brought into the wider project, which is great.
Fantastic. And will you have like information boards at the site, or in the city, the nearby city? How will you share this with visitors?
I think the plan is that we will have some information panels set up at this site, as well as the weir that we're undertaking works to upstream as well, just to let people know, have photographs of when the weir was here, what it looked like, why it was here, why we've removed it, why it was important and why it was put here in the first place, and then why it's been important that we do remove it and what benefits that removal will bring.
Yeah. And if the wider Leven programme, the next phase really is bringing all these multiple benefits, the travel routes, the interpretation. So there's lots planned on with that. Who knows what the interpretation will be? I think it'll be something more than boards. It'll be something quite exciting. Because it's really going to be, with the opening of the disused railway as well, it's really going to be seen as a hub and great for active travel, great for the economy, and bring tourists to the area as well.
Fantastic. So I think that we need to start wrapping up. I would love to talk with you more. We're quite in a flow. I just want to see if there are any questions from the chat. No, there's no questions from the chats. I have one last question for all of you. Closing remarks from all of you. Perhaps maybe we can start with Ines. I would like just to hear your last advice, last what you thought about the project. Tell us something that inspires you and that can inspire the rest of us.
I think it's a great thing doing this kind of work, for the environment and the fish. I think it's just a good thing that we're doing. That's kind of my input in that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ines. And then Alison, can you talk also about what your specific lessons? Do you have anything that other people can learn from? Anything that you think that can be relevant for other people that are working on feasibility projects, or something that don't forget to ...
Yeah, no, I think, to be honest with you, particularly with sites that are as urban as this, I think one of the key considerations for any project, whether it's weir removal or anything to do with a river like this, is engagement, both with stakeholders and the community. Landownership can often be quite complicated, and landowner boundaries and things like that can be very complicated in sites like this. Particularly for this site, there was a lot of history and a lot of historic changes of land ownership, and there were quite a few searches that had to be done for us to be able to define those boundaries and things, and that took a long time. So for anyone starting a project like this, I think that's something that, the sooner that you can determine what landowners own what parts of land, is really going to help you as you move through the project. But also, as I say, just communication with the communities. The earlier that you let the surrounding communities know what's happening and what your intentions are, and allow them to feed into that process, I think it'll always be a benefit to the project. Ultimately, it's to benefit them as well, so as well as the fish in the river and the river itself. So, I think that's really important.
Fantastic. Okay. And then to wrap up, Linda, can you tell us, we have this project and we're celebrating this project with you guys across Europe. And of course, you also have other projects. Perhaps maybe just tell us about the barrier, the future barriers beyond this barrier that you wanted to remove, and then some closing comments from your side.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in Scotland, we've got 244 barriers actually in Scotland that are causing a barrier to fish migration. About a third of those are historic redundant barriers. So what we do is we've got that long list, and we've got an internal team at the SEPA with our fish ecology and hydrologists and WEF. We go out and scope those. And then about those, 60% require action. So we build our program. So we've got this ongoing program. So this is one of many, which is great. We're so excited about this one because full removal is really our preferred option for the number of reasons that Alison mentioned. But for net zero objectives, future maintenance, upstream and downstream passage for fish, so many benefits. So it's absolutely great. So that's kind of our future plan. So we've got a long list, we've got a program, and we've worked through it. For closing comments, I would say that for this barrier, we knew it was impassable in certain conditions. We'd done an internal scope for the SEPA. We knew it was impassable. We knew that full removal could be an option. But really, what got this project to fruition was looking to see what's happening with wider catchment. So it was the wider Leven programme that really was the catalyst for the project. Get it on board with partners and really maximise the benefits for the ecology, but as we said, to the economy and for the local community. Really pushed this project and pushed it up our priority list, and got us working on it. So many benefits. It's such an exciting time for this river and the community around here.
Fantastic. And one last question, which is the next one in Scotland? Do you already have one?
Which is the next one for Scotland? I mean, we've got certain catchments that we're working on just now, because we've got this quite a long list. So what we're doing is we're looking at catchment, and we're looking really at the quantity of habitat. So if we were to open up, where can we get the biggest benefits really? If we take out barriers, where can you get the biggest benefit? Where fish are going to access the greatest quantity? So there's certain catchments. I think there's 3 key catchments in Scotland that we're really focusing on at the moment. But as I say, we've got this ongoing programme, a whole team of case officers working throughout Scotland, so it's ongoing.
Fantastic. And is there any online information if people want to hear more, or not hear more, read more about what's happening in Scotland? Is there any site or anything that we can link to?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for this project, there's the Leven.org. I would say that's a really good website if you want to find out more about what's happening with this project, with the River Leven Restoration Project, and with these wider multiple benefits. That's a website to go to. For Water Environment Fund, you can go to the Scottish Environment Protection Agency website, and then through that you can get onto the WEF page, and there'll be information on there. But yeah, please get in touch. I don't know if you're going to share details or emails. Get in touch with myself or us, and we are happy to send links or more information if you can't find it. So just get in touch with us.
I think there's also the Leven Programme Facebook page as well, and they share regular updates as and when things are happening on the site with Burnmill and also with the wider restoration works and the wider works that are going on around Leven.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much, and congratulations again. Thank you to all of you. And we've seen 3 of you, but this is a huge project with many other people. So also thank you to everybody that worked on this project on behalf of the fish and ecosystems and nature. Great work, and we'll see you soon, hopefully.
Right, thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.